Hello, good day everyone. My name is Christian Aliana Kagumay from Section Alpha, second year BS Criminology. And today I'm going to discuss about my chosen hero, Apolinario Mabini, first Prime Minister of the Philippines, the brain of the revolution. Apolinario Mabini Y. Maranan, born on July 23, 1864 in Talaga, Tanauan, Batangas. So the parents of Apolinario, Inocencio Mabini and Dionisia Maranan, died on May 13, 1903. Education, Colegio de San Juan de Letran, University of Santo Tomas. Published works El Simil de Alejandro Programa Constitucional de la República Filipina, la Revolution Filipina. So, award and honors: Mabini's face husband of the Philippines, 10 pesos coin and bill Museo ni Apolinario Mabini. The Gawad Mabini is awarded to Filipinos for outstanding foreign service. So, notable quit meant that whether or not the wishes will work and strive for the rights with which nature has endowed him, because these rights are the only ones which can satisfy the demands of the own being. So, early life: Apolinario Mabini Y. Maranan was born the second of 8 children around 43 miles south of Manila on July 23, 1864. His parents were very poor. His father, Inocencio Mabini, was peasant farmer, and his mother, Dionisia Maranan, supplemented their farm income as a vendor at the local market. So, as a child, Apolinario was remarkably intelligent and studious despite his family poverty. He studied at school in Tanawan under the tutelage of Simplicio Avelino, working as a houseboy and tailor's assistant to earn his room and board. He then transferred to a school run the famed educator Fray Valerio Malabanan. In 1881, at the age of 17, Mabini won a partial scholarship to Manila's Colegio de San Juan de Letran. Once again, he worked throughout his schooling, this time by teaching younger students Latin. So, continue education. Apolinario earned his bachelor's degree and official recognition as a professor of Latin in 1887. He went on to study law at the University of Santo Tomas. From there, Mabini entered the legal professions in order of defend poor people. He had himself faced discrimination in the school from fellow students and professors who picked on him for his shabby clothing before they realized how brilliant he was. At took Mabini 6 years to complete his law degree, since he worked long hours as a law clerk and a court transcriptionist in addition to his studies. He ultimately earned his law degree in 1894 at the age of 30. So, political activities: while at school, Mabini supported the reform movements. This conservative group was mainly made up of middle and upper class Filipinos calling for changes to Spanish colonial rule. Rather, the outright Philippines independence intellectual author and physician Jose Rizal was also active in the movement. In September 1894, Mabini helped establish the Reformation Cuerpo de Compromisarios, the body of compromisers with South to negotiate better treatment from Spanish official. Pre-independence activists, mostly from the lower classes, joined the more radical Katipunan movement. Instead established by Andres Bonifacio, the Katipunan movement advocated armed revolution against Spain. So, legal work and illness. In 1895, Mabini was admitted to the lawyer and worked as a newly minted lawyer in the Andriano Law Office in Manila, while also served as the secretary of the Cuerpo de Compromisarios. However, early in 1896, Apolinario Mabini contracted polio, which left his leg paralyzed. Oh. Ironically, this disability saved his life. That autumn, the colonial police arrested Mabini in October of 1896 for his work with the reform movement. He was still under house arrest the San Juan de Dios Hospital on December 30 of that year. When the colonial government summarily executed Jose Rizal, and it's believed that Mabini's polio likely kept him from the same fate. So, the Spanish-American War. Between his medical condition and his imprisonment, Apolinario Mabini was not able to participate in the opening days of the Philippines Revolution. Nevertheless, his experiences and the execution of Rizal radicalized Mabini, and he turned his keen intellect to the issues of revolution and independence. In April 1898, he penned a manifesto on the Spanish-American War, presently warning other Philippine revolutionary leaders that Spain would likely cede the Philippines to the United States if it lost the war. He urged them to fight the independence. This paper brought him to the attention of General Emilio Aguinaldo, who had ordered the execution of Andres Bonifacio the previous year and had been driven into exile in Hong Kong by the Spanish. So, the Philippines Revolution, the Americans hoped to use Aguinaldo against the Spanish in the Philippines, so they brought him back from his exile on May 19, 1898. Once ashore, Aguinaldo ordered his men to bring the author of the war manifesto to him, and they had to carry the disability Mabini over the mountains on a stretcher to Cavite. Mabini reached Aguinaldo's camp on June 12, 1898, and soon became one of the general's primarily advisors. That same day, Aguinaldo declared the Philippines independence with himself as the dictator, establishing the new government. On July 23, 1898, Mabini was able to talk Aguinaldo out of ruling the Philippines as an autocrat. He convinced the new president to establish a revolutionary government with assembly rather than a dictatorship. In fact, Apolinario Mabini's power of persuasion over Aguinaldo was so strong that his dictators called him Dark Chamber of the President. While him admirers named his the sublime paralytic because his personal life morality were difficult to attack Mabini's enemies in the new government. Restored to a whispering campaign to slander him. Jealous of his immense power, this started a rumor that his paralysis was due to syphilis rather than polio, despite the fact that syphilis does not cause paraplegia. Uh, Creating institutional foundations. Even as these rumors spread, Mabini continued to work towards fashioning a better country. He wrote of Aguinaldo's presidential decrees. He also molded policy on the organization of the province, the judicial system, and the police as well as property registration and military regulations. Aguinaldo appointed him the cabinet as a Secretary of Foreign Affairs and President of the Council of Secretaries in these roles. Mabini exercised significant influence over drafting of the first constitution for the Philippines Republic. Mabini is trying to avert war. Mabini continued moving up ranks in the new government with his appointment as both the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister on January 2, 1899. Right there, the Philippines was on the brink of yet another war. On March 6 of that year, Mabini began negotiations with the United States over the Philippines' fate. Now that the U.S. had defeated Spain, but the U.S. and the Philippines were already engaged in hostilities but not in a declared war. So Mabini sought the negotiate autonomy for the Philippines and ceasefire from foreign troops, but the U.S. refused the armistice. In frustration, Mabini threw his support behind the war effort, and on May 7, he resigned from Aguinaldo's government, with Aguinaldo declaring war less than a month later on June 2. At war again. As the declared war began, the revolutionary government at Cavite had to flee. Once again, Mabini was carried in a hammock, this time to the north, 11.9 miles to Nueva Ecija on December 10, 1899. He was captured there by Americans, made prisoner of war in Manila until the following September. Upon his release on January 5, 1901, Mabini published an scathing newspaper articles titled El Simile de Alejandro, or the resemblance of Alejandro, which stated, So man, whether or not he wishes, will work and strive for those rights with which nature has endowed him, because rights are only ones which can satisfy the demands of his own being. To tell a man to be quiet when a necessity not fulfilled is shaking all the fibers of his being, is tantamount to asking hungry. Man the fulfilled while taking the food which he need. The Americans immediately rearrested him and sent him into exile in Guam. When he refused to swear fealty to the United States during his long exile, Apolinario Mabini wrote La Revolution Filipina, a memoir worn down and sickly and ag- agreed to take the oath of intelligence to the United States. So, Apolinario Mabini date on February 26, Mabini returned to the Philippines where Americans officials offered him plus government's position reward from agreeing to the take penalty oath, but Mabini refused, releasing the following statement: "After the two long years, I am returning, so that speak completely disoriented, and what is worse, almost overcome by disease and suffering. Nevertheless, I hope after some times of rest and study is still to be of some use, unless I have returned to the islands for the sole purpose of dying." Sadly, his words were prophetic. Mabini continued to speak and write a support of Philippines independence over the next several months. He fell ill with cholera, which was rampant in the country after years of war, and died on May 30, 1903 at only 38 years old. Legacy of Apolinario Mabini. Like fellow Philippines revolutionaries, Jose Rizal and Andres Bonifacio Mabini did not live to see his 40th birthday yet in his short career. He had an outsized role in shaping the revolutionary government and future of the Philippines. The Museo in Apolinario Mabini in Tanawan, Philippines exhibit the life and deed of Mabini. Mabini's face has been on the Philippines 10 pesos coins and bill. The Gawad Mabini is an honor given to Filipinos distinguished foreign service. And that's all, and thank you.